Hey, true crime fanatics, this is Claire.
And I'm Andy.
You're tuned in to the Homicide Hobbies podcast, which is a podcast for people who love to hear about the horrendous crimes that people commit. Enjoy.
I ain't even got my headphones on yet.
Well, you shouldn't have said you were ready.
I didn't.
Yeah.
All right. Now I'm ready. Are you there?
Uh-huh.
I'm ready.
It's your case.
Are you going to ask me?
Oh. This is the part where you do the reading.
We done developed us a rapport in the beginning.
I know. All right. So where are we headed to?
So the place we're going to today, the Volks Electric Railway, still runs along the seafront, and it is the oldest electric railway in the world. It was opened in 1883. Need another one?
Mm-hmm.
It's widely considered the unofficial capital of the LGBTQ plus community and hosts the country's largest pride festival.
Oregon.
This place has also been a launch pad for famous careers, including the debut of Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon in 1972.
California?
Today, we'll be in Brighton, England.
I was going to guess England. You threw me off.
I know. Our time frame is going to start in 1986. Sometimes the most chilling part of true crime isn't just the crime itself, but the injustice that follows. I want you to imagine two 9-year-old girls vanishing into Brighton woodland one October evening. Hours later, frantic searchers discover their bodies sexually assaulted, strangled, and abandoned side by side. The man responsible? A local petty criminal who would evade justice for decades.
Why do you want me to imagine that?
Well, it turns out you're not going to have to imagine it for too long because I'm going to tell you about it. But it gives you a glimpse into what we're going to be talking about.
Got it. For somebody who doesn't like kid cases, you sure do track them down.
Unfortunately, we live in a sick world where everybody seems to feel it's okay to assault children. And just like our intro, just because it happens and you don't know about it doesn't mean it's not happening in the world. So anyway, the day that changed everything was October 9th, 1986. Again, we're in Brighton, England. It was a cool autumn day, and it was otherwise unremarkable. Two 9-year-old best friends, Nicola Fellows and Karen Hadaway, headed out to play near their homes in a working-class neighborhood just north of the city. They're happy, carefree little girls who were inseparable.
Like regular 9-year-olds?
Yeah, playing outside. They were best buddies and they were inseparable. But that October evening, when they were supposed to come home, they never showed. Their families panicked and began searching the streets, and by nightfall, the search had included dozens of people who had gathered together to comb the neighborhood in an effort to help locate the girls. A 20-year-old man named Russell Bishop was one of the many who participated in the public search for the girls.
He did it.
He sure did. But he made sure people saw him there. He presented himself as a concerned local man helping to look for the missing girls. But he wasn't searching. He was watching. He didn't need to search for the girls because he already knew where Nicola and Karen were. The following morning, police, they started their search again. And remarkably, Russell was present when two boys discovered the bodies of the missing girls in Wild Park. Russell even tracked down a nearby officer and accompanied him to the scene, feigning concern. When in fact, Russell's behavior was so over the top, the officer noted that Russell sprinted to the officer and then sprinted back to where the girls were, almost as if he was racing the officer. And he announced as he was running, he's going to go check the girls for a pulse.
Oh.
Yeah. However, Russell didn't expect that the officer would be able to keep up in the sprint to where the girls' remains were. He thought that he'd be able to kind of get away and the officer would be trailing him. And the officer specifically told Russell to stop. Do not approach the crime scene any further. And Russell actually seemed to be angered by this because his behavior was a calculated attempt to be seen touching the girls in an attempt to help. But the officer thwarted Russell's plans by telling him not to take a step further. Then Russell tried to tell the officer he'd already checked the girls' necks for a pulse when he first found them. There, hidden beneath the brush, were the bodies of Nicola and Karen. They were not fully naked, but their state of undress showed that there was clear evidence of sexual assault. They had been strangled, raped, and their partially nude, violated bodies were left strategically positioned. According to Chief Superintendent David Tomlinson, when he observed the crime scene, the position of their bodies was shocking. One body had been almost thrown or tossed against the other. It was awkward and seemed forced and not in a natural, resting arrangement. Nicola was on her back with Karen partially on top of her, with Karen's head resting in Nicola's lap, which paints a disturbing picture of how they were just tossed away. And Nicola also appeared to have been punched in the face, most likely to subdue her while Karen was being raped and strangled. Forensic experts later suggested the attacker staged the scene, arranging them to confuse investigators or to play out a sick fantasy. Evidence would later suggest that at least one of the girls may have still been alive during the initial attempts to conceal her body.
Mm-hmm.
The brutality stuns not just Brighton, but the entire nation. The scene was horrifying. 2 children side by side, left in undergrowth as if discarded. The press dubbed this situation as Babes in the Wood murders.
What?
Yeah, sick. Within days, police turned their attention to 20-year-old Russell Bishop. Not only had he been acting strange at the time that the girls were found, but a witness also placed Russell in Wild Park in the evening that the girls were murdered. He was also familiar to both of the girls, so without that stranger danger sense about him, it wouldn't have been difficult for him to lure the girls away from safety. So who is Russell Bishop?
A piece of shit.
Sure is. Russell was born in 1966 in Brighton. His mother, Sylvia, was a dog trainer and was described as strict and domineering. Russell struggled academically due to dyslexia, so he was sent to St. Mary's Horeham, a special needs school. And when he turned 15, he ran away and hitchhiked back to Brighton. He was already exhibiting signs of rebellion and antisocial behavior. His peers nicknamed him Little Man Syndrome due to his size and arrogance.
Okay.
As an adult, he remained small in stature. I did look it up. He was only 5'5", which, whatever. He's still taller than me.
What's the average height for that area?
I don't care. But...
Well, if everybody's like 5'10", I can see where it's like I don't know, kids are stupid. They come up with stupid names.
Well, as an adult, he's the size of Dad.
Yeah.
He's 5'5". He's
yes.
not a tall
we
feller.
come from a family of midgets, so that's not abnormal for us. If it's abnormal for the area, it makes sense.
Well, anyway, so Russell, even as an adult, is a tiny feller, and he's brash and known around the area as a small-time thief, and he was known for his petty crimes like theft, car break-ins, and burglary.
A real nice feller.
Mm-hmm. Sure was. He was also a habitual liar, earning him the reputation for his exaggeration.
He said he was 5'8". Does it count if he believes them?
I think that's called a...
delusional?
No, pathological liar, where they believe their own lies. Anyway, so despite his criminal background, he managed to evade serious convictions. That is until 1986. He lived just a short walk from where the girls lived, and as I previously mentioned, he'd been seen in Wild Park on the very night the girls were murdered. He was wearing a sweatshirt that would be discovered at the crime scene. A key piece of evidence that seemed to tie him to the crime scene was, in fact, that blue sweatshirt that was found. The police confronted Russell about the shirt that was recovered at the crime scene, and he was like, "That's not my shirt."
Of course not.
They're like, "We got a witness that saw you wearing it the night the girls went missing.
Your name is embroidered on the inside of this here tag."
That would have been perfect. But he's like, "That's not my shirt. I don't know what to tell you." There's red stains on the shirt, and it was confirmed they're not blood, but it was automotive paint. Police went to Russell's home with the sweatshirt in hand because they wanted to compare the stains to the red car that Russell had been seen working on. So when police knock on the door, a woman named Jennifer Johnson answers, and she is Russell's girlfriend. Jennifer, when she opens the door, sees the officers are holding the blue sweatshirt and says, "Oh, the police brought back Russell's shirt?" Unaware that she just linked her boyfriend to the murders of the girls. Police look at each other and then look at her and they ask, "Hold up, so you recognize this as Russell's shirt?" And Jennifer looks at the officers and was like,
"I'd recognize that crusty old thing anywhere."
Yeah, pretty much. She's like,
"He would never take it off so I could wash it. And then when it went missing, I thought he finally gave it up."
Well, pretty much. And she's like, "Yeah, that's his shirt. I don't know what your problem is." And then she even went as far as signing a statement that said, "Yeah, this is in fact Russell's article of clothing."
She thought she was helping him reclaim his shirt.
Sure did. And the police were like, "Got him. That sweatshirt was not only confirmed to be Russell's by his girlfriend, but the paint stains matched the paint on his car that he was touching up. The shirt also had fibers that were linked to the girls.
Ooh.
Unfortunately, the case was quickly unraveling. As we've discussed in previous cases, the forensic science in the mid 1980s was primitive. The collection of evidence was mishandled, body temperatures weren't properly recorded, which complicated the time of death analysis. And by the time Russell went on trial in 1987, the case had completely collapsed. Investigators contaminated some of the evidence samples, and other samples were flat out lost. Worst of all, Russell's girlfriend Jennifer felt pressure to lie for Russell, and she suddenly changed her story on the stand, saying she wasn't sure if that was his shirt. And to add insult to injury, she lied even further, claiming the police coerced her into signing a false statement. Karen Hadaway's mother fainted in court when Russell was acquitted. She wept later as she said, "That was the day my life ended, watching him walk free, knowing he was guilty." Nicola's father described that day as hell, watching the man that raped and murdered his little girl go free. Russell walked out of the courtroom with a smug smirk across his face as if he outsmarted the entire system.
Piece of shit.
Russell, realizing the community still believed he was guilty, though, he decided to start spreading vile rumors. He suggested that Nicola's father, Barry Fellows, had
Oh,
abused his own
no.
daughter. And for a grieving father, it was unbearable. The loss of his child, and then the added torment of being treated with suspicion by his own community. Because you know as well as I do that the second rumors start, the whispers become roars. And that is exactly what happened.
Yeah.
These people in the community even vandalized his home.
Ugh.
Right.
So, is it known that he started the rumors or speculated?
It comes out later that he's the one that started it, him and Jennifer.
That's disgusting.
It really is. And it was just because he wanted the suspicion off of him.
Well, it's even more disgusting that his girlfriend helped. I hope that it was. Well, I can't even reason it.
No, the only thing I could think of is maybe she really believed he was innocent. That would be what I hope
Yeah,
for.
but even still.
Maybe she believed the lies that he told.
Yeah, but like at the end of the day, that somebody lost their kid and you're choosing to make up some shit
Oh, yeah,
that
that's
you don't know happened, but rather than be like, oh, it was his sweater happened to be in the wrong spot, you're going to start making stuff up. He already lost his kid.
yeah. It's vile. The pair of them are vile.
Mm-hmm.
In 1989, the families of Nicola and Karen insisted on the police not closing their case. The problem was, police believed that Russell was the true perpetrator, so they felt there was no need to continue to investigate the murders. Since he had been formally charged, tried, and acquitted, there's no reason to further investigate because those pesky double jeopardy laws would prohibit Russell from being tried again. So the families put together petitions and they're signed by the community insisting on the police to keep the case open. And the families even organized a community march in protest of the police closing this case. And also for that march that the families of these little girls that were raped and murdered, like they put this march together,
Mm-hmm.
Russell Bishop was seen front and center.
Oh my god. He sure does like attention.
Sure does. He even gave interviews. You can watch him online if you're curious. But
Not gonna.
for those that believed in his guilt, it was disturbing and disgusting to see him giving those interviews stating he wanted the investigation to continue because he knew it would clear his name if someone else would be arrested for the crimes they committed. He then went on to sell his version of the story for £15,000 to a local media outlet. The fact that he's making money off of it, I also found disgusting.
Ugh.
Just 3 years later, on February 2nd, 1990, Russell received a letter from the police department stating they were closing the murder investigation on Karen and Nicola and that he was cleared of any
Ugh.
suspicion. Yeah. With that letter in hand clearing his name, Russell would go on to prove exactly what kind of guy he was. Just 2 days after being cleared of Karen and Nicola's murders, 7-year-old Rachel Watts was given some pocket change from her father to go get some candy from the local store. Being new to the area, little Rachel got lost. She spotted a man fixing a red car, and since her daddy was a mechanic, she associated this man with her father. So, believing she would be safe asking for directions, innocent little 7-year-old Rachel approached the man. who was none other than Russell Bishop. As soon as Rachel was within reach, he grabbed her and shoved her into the trunk of his car. While in the trunk, Rachel found a hammer and WD
Ooh.
40. She began banging as hard as she could with the hammer on the inside of the trunk. Russell drove her to a secluded area called Devil's Dyke. It was roughly 7 miles from her home. There, he yanked the terrified 7-year-old from the trunk. He stripped her naked and sexually assaulted her. He strangled her in the back seat of his red car, and then Russell dumped her tiny little body on the roadside, believing he had killed her. In a passing vehicle, a young couple spotted Rachel stumbling out of the brush. She was naked and bloody. It was apparent to the couple what had happened to this little girl. She was battered, traumatized, and blood was leaking down her frail little legs, but she was alive. As the male Good Samaritan, David, approached Rachel, she peered up at him through her tears and asked if he was going to kidnap her too.
Oh.
Um,
Oh, you were getting choked up.
I was, you sick little shit. But anyway, it broke the man's heart, but he calmly reassured her she was safe now. The couple wrapped her in a blanket to help warm her from the cool fall evening and drove her to the nearest house to call police. Meanwhile, Rachel's parents were concerned, but not frantic, because Rachel had left for the store around 4. She'd only been gone for nearly an hour when police knock on the door to inform them that Rachel was at the local
I
hospital.
can't even imagine.
Oh, it's so much worse. Police had to tell the concerned parents that their baby girl had been beaten, raped, and left for dead. Police stopped the devastated parents from entering the little girl's hospital room because they told them they need to show no emotion. Right now, Rachel was willing to talk about what had happened to her, but if she saw her parents lose their composure, they risked Rachel clamming up and not wanting to discuss anything. Somehow her mother was able to sit calmly and quietly next to her little girl and hear the details of what she endured. She described how the man grabbed her. She described him putting her into the trunk of his red car. She told the police where he took her. She told the police about the WD 40 and the hammer in the trunk and how she screamed and yelled and banged on the inside of the trunk with that hammer. Miraculously, this time the child not only survived, but she was able to give a detailed description of her attacker. And police were like, this sounds kind of like that piece of shit Russell Bishop.
Wait, what's the time span between when he was let out and this?
So when he was acquitted, is that what you're asking about?
No. Like when he got out and like the case ended, like what the chunk was. He behaved himself.
So the trial is 3 years.
Up.
From the time the girls were killed, it's 4 years, but his trial ended in 1987. And then he had received that letter clearing him of any suspicion in 1990. Like 3-4 years. But okay, so she's able to give a detailed description of the attacker, right? And the police are like, this sounds like Russell Bishop. So police are like, let's just go out and have a chit chat with him and just see what his alibi is. And when they show up at Russell's home, they find him outside frantically scrubbing what would appear to be blood off the back seat of his car. They also found WD 40 and a hammer still in the trunk, along with little dings and dents that Rachel was able to put inside of the trunk with the hammer.
Piece of shit.
Police put Russell in a lineup with 9 other men who looked similar to him. Through one-way glass, Rachel looked at each one of the men. She named the man holding the number 9 as her attacker. It was Russell Bishop. Russell was once again arrested, only this time the police had enough evidence. Between his semen, Rachel's blood, fibers from her outfit in his trunk, plus her testimony, the jury found him guilty. Russell was convicted of kidnap, sexual assault, and attempted murder. The judge sentenced him to life with a minimum of 10 years for the kidnapping and 10 years for the sexual assault.
What?
10 years for sexual assault on a 7-year-old, I find absolutely disgusting. Life with a minimum of 10 years. That's what he got.
Well, so he gets out.
Nicola's father later reflected.
You're just ignoring me.
Yeah. So Nicola's father later reflected, if the police had done their job back in 1986 when his daughter was murdered, the little girl Rachel in 1990 would have never suffered.
For sure.
He said they let that monster back out into the streets.
Yeah.
After 14 years of healing, Rachel, who at this point is 22 years old, and her family thought that they were safe. He was behind bars. She was working on being
better.
Yeah, doing better. However, the phone rang one day and Rachel answered. The voice on the other end was calling to let her know Russell was up for parole.
It's disgusting.
So disgusting. Rachel's family fought to keep Russell in prison. Along with that earth-shattering news of Russell's potential parole came a bit of good news for Nicola and Karen's family.
He's dead.
Also in 2005, the UK reformed the 800-year-old double jeopardy law, which allows retrials in serious cases if compelling new evidence emerged. For decades, the families of Nicola and Karen never stopped their long fight for justice. Karen's mother, Michelle Hadaway, became a tireless campaigner pushing the case to be reopened. She later said, "People have told us to just move on, but how do you move on when your child's killer is alive and free of justice?"
And kidnapping kids.
Right. Finally, in 2013, science and the legal battle for justice collided in the most spectacular way. The infamous sweatshirt was re examined. This time, DNA from Nicola and Karen was found on it, alongside Russell Bishop's DNA. But there was a catch. The sweatshirt had been contaminated by police, so evidence found on the shirt would be inadmissible. The police fished through the boxes of evidence and discovered tape. When they had collected evidence from Karen and Nicola's remains, they used tape to pull any fibers and anything off of the girls. That tape had not been touched since they collected it due to the inability to really do anything with it at the time. So the police take that tape and send it off for testing, and bam! Russell's DNA is found on both of the girls.
Sweet. It's kind of amazing they had the foresight of like, I don't know what to do with this, but we'll collect it.
Yeah. But there was another catch. Russell had already been acquitted. His defense team tried to claim he couldn't be retried, but that wonderful change in the double jeopardy laws would accept that DNA confirming a 1 in a billion match was definitely compelling new evidence and was instrumental in overturning his 1987 acquittal.
Sweet.
The long overdue retrial came in 2018, more than 3 decades after the rapes and murders of the 9-year-old friends Nicola and Karen. Russell Bishop attempted to deflect the blame by accusing Barry Fellows, the father of Nicola, once again. He suggested that the police had spent 32 years building a case against the wrong man. He also tried to claim he told police back in 1987 when he found the remains of the girls that he checked them for a pulse. And the police officer that he went and got did confirm that Russell told him he checked their necks for a pulse in 1987. However, if you remember,
He didn't beat off on him.
right. But if you remember, the boys that originally found the girls and Russell just happened to be with them, and Russell did the whole, oh my gosh, here they are. That was supposedly the first time the girls' bodies had been discovered. And those boys, who are now grown ass men, were able to refute the claim and said Russell was not able to get within 15 feet of the girls. Therefore, his DNA should never have been on them.
Why wasn't he able to get to 15 feet?
Because when the 2 boys that he was with, they were teenagers, I think, when they stumbled onto the girls, Russell was behind them, and they were like, "Oh my god, there they are. We need to get the police." And Russell was like, "Oh, I'll go get him. I'll go get him," and ran and got that officer and then sprinted back and told the officer he was going to go check for a pulse. And then when the officer was like, "Don't go anywhere near them," he then tried to say, "Oh, I already checked him for a pulse." Well, those 2 boys stayed there when Russell went to go get the officer. So Russell never came into contact with their bodies. And there's witnesses that can prove that. So unfortunately for Russell, his new trial revealed the forensic breakthroughs, his DNA, the paint flecks confirmed that it was from Russell's car that were on his shirt, even fibers that matched those found at the crime scene. Everything linked him to the girls, right?
Mm-hmm.
On December 10th, 2018, the jury deliberated for approximately 2.5 hours before returning a unanimous guilty verdict. Russell Bishop was found guilty, and he was sentenced to 2 life sentences with a minimum of 36 years. As the verdict was read, the family members wept. Nicola's sister, Tanya, told reporters, "We finally have justice for Nicola and Karen. We've waited 32 years for this. It's the happiest and saddest day of our lives." Karen's mother added, "It's bittersweet. Justice is done, but nothing can bring our girls back. We've lost them twice, once to the killer and once to the system that failed them."
I agree. It's kind of bittersweet. I'm glad that they have it because some people go and
And
without
never,
it.
yeah,
But it's also, he was able to do it again. Well,
right.
nearly. I'm glad she lived, sort of.
I'm also glad that the fear of parole has now been pushed away,
Yeah. I would have had to move.
right? Now, it's not over yet because his ex-girlfriend, Jennifer Johnson,
She's still lingering?
Well, it's an ex-girlfriend now. However, she was arrested for perjury after he was found guilty. In May 2021, after a trial at the Lewes Crown Court, Jennifer Johnson was found guilty of both perjury and perverting the course of justice. She was sentenced to 6 years in prison for each offense, with the sentences to run concurrently. I think she deserved way more time because her lies allowed a child rapist and killer to go free. But I like that they didn't just brush it aside and they weren't just like,
Yeah, for
forgot.
sure.
But unfortunately, she was released on parole in April 2024, having served approximately 3 years of her 6-year sentence. In 2020, Russell was diagnosed with bowel cancer, and it would later spread to his brain.
From having his head up his own ass all his life.
On January 20th, 2022, Russell Bishop died at the age of 55. Reacting to the news, Michelle Hadaway said, "It's the only good news we've had in years. The only comfort is that he can never hurt anyone again." The Babes in the Wood murders are remembered not only for their horror, but also for the failings that let Russell Bishop escape from justice for so long. 2 little girls lost their lives, and a third narrowly survived. An innocent father was vilified, and for decades, families were left without answers. Justice was delayed, yes, but in the end, it was not denied. This case is a chilling reminder that evil doesn't always hide in the shadows, but sometimes it's right there in plain sight, waiting for another chance to strike.
I can't even imagine the time in between of like them knowing they started the allegations to the dad. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because them not knowing where like the whispers are coming from, I would imagine they'd have to run that down just to be sure because you got to check out everything.
Yeah. I think it's also disgusting that the community vandalized his home.
Dude, I think it's disturbing the number of times like a community will they really just like pitchforks and fires of like.
They really do. It was all too easy. It's disgusting. People are disgusting.
They are. They don't need a whole lot to form a posse.
Yeah. And they don't even have the details of the case. They just decided.
They don't. They're like, yeah, let's go.
Yeah.
Get him.
Disgusting.
Mob mentality.
But that's all I've got on that piece of shit, Russell Bishop, and his little sidekick, Jennifer Johnson.
Well, I'm glad he was caught. It's also terrifying to think if she would have died, that he would have just continued again.
It's also disgusting that it took 2 days after being cleared for him to be like, his way of celebrating was to go attack a 7-year-old. It's disgusting.
2 days.
Yeah, 2 days after he received the letter clearing his name.
Oh, yeah.
And he's told officially the police are no longer looking into him.
Well, that's why I was curious how long it was of that he was sitting there behaving himself knowing he's being watched. So I feel like he couldn't have controlled himself. 2 days was really long for him.
It really was. Ugh. I'm glad she survived. I mean, 7 years old. She's a brave little thing to be able to testify.
Yeah.
I saw a YouTube video on her and it was really sad because she admitted as an adult that she didn't want to see her parents sad. So when she told the police about the things he did to her, she didn't mention the rape because she was ashamed. It wasn't until she was an adult that she told everybody that she was actually awake. They just assumed that he strangled her and then raped her while she was unconscious.
Mm-hmm.
That brought them a little bit of peace of mind, thinking that she didn't have to be awake to endure that, but she was. He strangled her after he raped her.
You're choking on a dick?
No.
You're still sick.
Yeah. I think I have COVID.
Anyway.
But that's all I've got.
All right. Thank you for listening to Homicide Hobbies. I'm Claire.
I'm Andy.
Follow us each week to get your fix of the atrocities that occur in true crime. And don't forget to tell people about us and rate us if you like us. But don't rate us if you didn't. Just change the channel.